In the heart of New York City, where power thrives in secrecy, Nathan Cole is a man living two lives. By day, a brilliant developer for a top tech firm. By night, a ghost in the digital underworld, trading in the shadows where no one can touch him. He's built an empire behind layers of encryption, but the deeper he goes, the more dangerous the game becomes. When the wrong people start watching, and the lines between hunter and hunted blur, survival isn't the only thing at stake, because in a world where secrets are currency, losing control means losing everything. Nathan Cole stood at the top floor of the glass-paneled office building in downtown Manhattan, overlooking the bustling streets below. His reflection stared back at him from the window. A man in his early 30s, sharp suit tailored to perfection, an image of success. A multi-million-dollar software engineer for Titan Tech, one of the most prestigious IT firms in the world. Life was good. No, life was perfect. He had worked hard to reach this point, climbing the corporate ladder with ruthless efficiency. A six-figure salary, a luxury apartment in Tribeca, a fiancée who was as ambitious and intelligent as he was, Olivia Hartman, the love of his life, a high-powered attorney who ran her own law firm, a woman who could dismantle a case with the precision of a surgeon. They had been together for 7 years, and their wedding was only months away. Yet, beneath the veneer of perfection, Nathan lived a double life. By day, he designed secure systems for the corporate world. By night, he was someone else entirely, hidden behind a veil of encryption and anonymity. A digital ghost who navigated the dark web, dealing in illicit goods, drugs, counterfeit documents, stolen financial data. He had built an empire in the shadows, leveraging his knowledge of cybersecurity to stay ahead of law enforcement. It had started as a challenge, a way to test his skills, but the money came easy, too easy. Soon it had become an addiction, the thrill of outsmarting the system. The power of knowing that no one, not the FBI, not cyber task forces, not even the NSA, could touch him. Nathan's phone buzzed. A message. Anonymous sender. We need to talk. Urgent. His stomach tightened. Only a handful of people had direct access to him through encrypted channels, and none of them would contact him unless it was serious. A second message followed. Anonymous sender. Meet at the usual place. Midnight. Nathan exhaled slowly. His usual place was a discreet cyber cafe in the Lower East Side, where privacy was valued more than legality. Something was wrong. He could feel it. Behind him, the office door opened. Nathan. He turned, smiling instinctively. Olivia stood in the doorway, dressed in a sleek black blazer, her caramel blonde hair cascading over her shoulders. She was effortlessly beautiful, but it was the sharp intelligence in her green eyes that had captivated him from the start. "Hey," he said, slipping his phone back into his pocket. "What brings you here?" She walked over, placing a folder on his desk. "Thought I'd surprise you. You've been working too much." He smirked. "Says the woman who works 80-hour weeks." "Touche," she admitted, leaning against his desk. "But seriously, you're distracted lately. Everything okay?" Nathan hesitated. Olivia was perceptive. One of the reasons she was such a brilliant lawyer. She could see through lies like glass. "Yeah, just work stress." She studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Well, I made dinner reservations for us tonight. You're not canceling this time." Nathan forced a smile. "Wouldn't dream of it." But even as he said the words, he knew he wouldn't be there. At midnight, he had a meeting in the shadows, and something told him it wasn't going to be good. Nathan arrived at the cyber cafe just before midnight, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and cigarette smoke. The place was nearly empty, save for a few hooded figures hunched over keyboards. At the far end, a man in a dark hoodie sat with his back to the wall. Nathan recognized him immediately, Victor, a longtime associate, one of the few people he trusted in this world. Nathan slid into the seat across from him. "You never call me unless something's wrong," Nathan said, keeping his voice low. "Talk." Victor leaned forward, his expression grim. "Someone's asking about you. Someone dangerous. Nathan's pulse quickened. Who? Unknown. They're not cops, not feds, but they have resources. They're digging into your transactions. Nathan's mind raced. He was meticulous. Every transaction was routed through layers of encryption, bouncing across servers worldwide. It was impossible to trace him. Someone like that wouldn't be asking unless they already know something, Nathan said. Victor nodded. That's what I'm saying. They're not looking for you. They're confirming. A cold chill settled over Nathan. Get out, Victor said suddenly. Shut everything down. Walk away while you still can. Nathan exhaled slowly. He'd heard these warnings before. Competitors, hackers, even law enforcement, always trying to flex their muscles. He had always stayed ahead. I appreciate the concern, Nathan said, but I'm not running. Victor stared at him for a long moment, then pushed something across the table. A small flash drive. If you won't leave, at least look at this. Nathan picked it up. What is it? Proof that whoever's after you is already closer than you think. Nathan slipped the drive into his pocket. I'll check it out. Victor stood, his expression still tense. Be careful, Cole. As Victor disappeared into the night, Nathan sat there for a moment, gripping the flash drive tightly. Whoever was after him had made a mistake. They thought they could hunt him, but they didn't realize. Nathan Cole was always 5 steps ahead. Nathan Cole sat in his dimly lit apartment, the glow of multiple monitors casting eerie shadows across the sleek, minimalist furniture. He had spent years perfecting his routine. 2 laptops, one for his legitimate software development job and another, hidden beneath layers of encryption, for his darker dealings. The latter was currently humming softly, running an isolated virtual machine as he prepared to examine Victor's flash drive. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. A part of him knew better than to open unknown files without precautions. He had taught others this in corporate cybersecurity training. Never plug in an unverified device. But Victor wasn't an amateur. He wouldn't have handed over something corrupted. Nathan ran a deep scan first, isolating the drive within a secure environment. No malware, no Trojans. Clean. That only made him more uneasy. He opened the folder. Inside, there were dozens of text logs, chat transcripts, and financial records, data pulled from his own transactions. His heart pounded as he scrolled through them. Someone had been tracking him. Each log was detailed, more meticulous than even his own records. It wasn't law enforcement. They wouldn't be this subtle. A hacker? A rival? Whoever it was, they weren't just tracing his movements. They were reconstructing them. Then, at the bottom of the folder, a single video file. Nathan clicked it. A grainy black and white surveillance recording played. The angle suggested it was from a hidden camera, possibly a small security feed. At first, nothing was clear. Just a figure in a dark alley, adjusting their hood. Then the figure turned slightly. Nathan's breath caught in his throat. It was him. The timestamp showed the video was taken 2 nights ago at one of his drop points. He had been careful. He had followed his usual protocol. Mask, gloves, no digital footprints. But someone had been watching him. A message popped up on his screen. Unknown. You're not as invisible as you think. Nathan's stomach twisted into knots. This wasn't just a warning. It was a threat. He had always prided himself on being untouchable, moving through the digital underworld like a ghost. But now, for the first time, he felt something he hadn't in years. Fear. The next morning, Nathan went through the motions at work, but his mind was elsewhere. Titan Tech's sprawling glass headquarters buzzed with the usual corporate energy. Teams working on cybersecurity solutions, developers in deep discussions about code, managers pushing for deadlines. He kept up appearances, exchanging pleasantries, attending meetings, but his mind was racing. Someone was on to him. The question was, who? At lunch, he sat with his closest colleague, Ryan Chen, a cybersecurity expert he had worked with for years. If there was anyone he could subtly probe for information, it was Ryan. You ever hear about anything big going down in the hacking scene? Nathan asked casually, sipping his coffee. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Depends. You mean corporate breaches? Or the other kind? The other kind. Ryan smirked, lowering his voice. There's always something happening on the dark web. But lately, yeah, I've heard whispers. Some new players. No one knows exactly who they are, but they're making noise. Word is, they're not just after money. They're looking to eliminate competition. Nathan tensed. Eliminate how? Permanently. Ryan leaned back. Some people have gone dark, as in no longer existing. Nathan swallowed. If what Ryan was saying was true, this wasn't just another hacker trying to outmaneuver him. This was something bigger. His phone buzzed. A message from Olivia. Olivia, dinner at 7? Don't ditch me this time. Guilt gnawed at him. Olivia had been patient, but he knew she was starting to suspect something was off. He quickly typed back, I'll be there. Ryan studied him. Everything good, man? Nathan forced a grin. Yeah, just a lot on my mind. Ryan smirked. Hey, you're getting married soon. If you weren't stressed, I'd be worried. Nathan chuckled, playing along. But inside, his mind was spiraling. Someone was hunting him. And if he didn't figure out who, his perfect life, his career, his future with Olivia would come crashing down. That evening, Nathan made it to dinner on time, but his mind was still stuck in the world of encrypted transactions and anonymous threats. Olivia had chosen a high-end restaurant on the Upper West Side, the kind where reservations had to be made weeks in advance. She looked stunning in a deep red dress, her green eyes watching him carefully as they sipped their wine. You're quiet, she said finally, setting down her glass. Something wrong? Nathan forced a smile. Just work stress. Olivia tilted her head. Nathan, I know when you're lying. His stomach clenched. Olivia was too smart. He needed to deflect. Honestly, he said, sighing, I'm just overwhelmed. Big project coming up. Deadlines. You know how it is. She studied him for a moment, then softened. I do, and I get it. But lately, I feel like I'm losing you. Nathan reached across the table, taking her hand. You're not, I promise. It wasn't a complete lie. He did love her. But he also knew that if she ever found out the truth about his second life, about the people chasing him, it would destroy everything. The rest of the dinner passed in a blur. They talked about wedding plans, about potential honeymoon destinations, about things normal couples should be discussing. Nathan played the part well, but in the back of his mind, he was formulating his next move. When they got home, Olivia fell asleep in his arms. Nathan, however, stayed awake, staring at the ceiling. He had spent years perfecting his double life. But now, for the first time, the cracks were showing, and he had no idea how to stop them from breaking everything apart. Nathan spent the next few days investigating every lead he could find. He traced the source of the message that had threatened him, but whoever had sent it was just as skilled as he was. Layers of encryption, IP addresses bouncing around the globe. Then, late one night, a new email appeared in his inbox. Unknown sender. You want to talk? Come alone. Attached was a set of coordinates. Somewhere in Brooklyn. Nathan hesitated. This could be a trap, but he needed answers. At midnight, he drove to the location, an abandoned warehouse near the docks. Typical. He stepped inside, his heart pounding. The place was dark, except for a single laptop set up in the center of the room. The screen flickered to life. A masked face appeared. A distorted voice spoke. You've been getting careless, Cole. Nathan's fists clenched. Who are you? You already know. I'm the one who's been watching. Nathan exhaled sharply. What do you want? Simple. You work for us now. Nathan's stomach twisted. And if I say no? The screen flickered again. Then, suddenly, a video feed. Olivia? She was asleep in their apartment, completely unaware that she was being watched. Nathan's blood turned to ice. The distorted voice spoke again. You don't have a choice. Nathan stood frozen, heart hammering. He had thought he was the predator, but now he realized he was the prey. Nathan stood frozen in the dimly lit warehouse. His eyes locked onto the grainy video feed of Olivia sleeping peacefully in their apartment. His breath was shallow, his mind racing. This wasn't just a warning anymore, it was leverage. The masked figure on the screen remained silent for a long moment, letting the weight of the threat settle in. When they finally spoke, their voice was modulated, but their tone carried unmistakable authority. "You have two options, Cole," the figure said. "Work for us or lose everything." Nathan's fists clenched. He had spent years ensuring his anonymity, outmaneuvering cyber task forces, staying several steps ahead of every competitor and threat. Yet somehow, this person or organization had not only found him, but had infiltrated his life so deeply that they could watch Olivia without him ever noticing. "What do you want from me?" Nathan asked, keeping his voice calm despite the storm raging inside him. The figure leaned slightly forward. "Your skills, your network, your access." Nathan narrowed his eyes. "Be specific. You're going to steal something for us." Nathan had hacked secure systems before, but this felt different, more personal, more dangerous. "What?" "Titan Tech's new AI security framework, the one your team is developing." Nathan's heart skipped a beat. Titan Tech had been working on a next-gen security system, Sentinel AI, a program designed to predict cyber threats before they happened, using machine learning and predictive analytics. If this was in the wrong hands, it could be used to crack almost any system in the world. "I can't do that," Nathan said immediately. "Even if I wanted to, the security around it is." "You'll find a way." The screen flickered again, and the video feed of Olivia changed, now showing a live feed from outside their apartment. A man in a black jacket stood near the entrance, casually smoking, as if waiting for something. Nathan's pulse hammered. "We're not here to negotiate, Cole." Nathan exhaled slowly. He had no choice. "Fine," he said through gritted teeth. "I'll get it." "Good. You have 3 days." The screen went black. Nathan stood there for a long moment, breathing heavily. He had spent years controlling every aspect of his secret life. Now, someone else was pulling the strings. Nathan drove back home, his mind racing through 1,000 worst-case scenarios. If he stole Sentinel AI, Titan Tech would immediately know it was an inside job. They would tear apart every security log, trace every employee with high-level access. It wasn't just a risk, it was a death sentence. But if he didn't do it, Olivia's life was in danger. By the time he reached his apartment, his hands were gripping the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles were white. He took a deep breath before heading inside, forcing himself to appear normal. Olivia was in the kitchen, making tea, wearing one of his old college sweatshirts. She looked up and smiled. "Hey, you're home early." Nathan swallowed. "Yeah, just a long day." She walked over, wrapping her arms around him. "You seem tense." If only she knew. He forced a smile, kissing her forehead. "Just work stress." As Olivia went back to her tea, Nathan's mind was already working through the problem. He needed a way to steal Sentinel AI without being caught. More importantly, he needed to figure out who the hell was blackmailing him. And if he had any chance of surviving this, he needed help. He sent a single message to Victor. "I need you. Now." Victor met Nathan in a secure location, an underground hacker den disguised as an abandoned electronics store. It was the kind of place where deals happened in whispered voices, where anonymity was worth more than money. Nathan wasted no time. "I need to steal something from Titan Tech," he said bluntly. Victor's eyes widened. "Jesus, Cole, have you lost your mind?" "I don't have a choice." Nathan quickly explained the blackmail, the video feed, the man outside Olivia's apartment. Victor listened, then exhaled sharply. "You're in deep, man." "I know." Victor rubbed his face. "Okay, first question. Who the hell are these people?" "That's what I need you to help me find out." Victor nodded. "I'll dig. But in the meantime, you're going to need a ghost protocol." "A what?" "A way to steal Sentinel AI and cover your tracks. If you do this sloppy, Titan Tech will find you before these guys do." Nathan exhaled. "Then we do it right." Victor leaned forward. "Then listen carefully, because this has to be perfect." Nathan had 3 days. The plan had to be flawless. Victor helped him set up a virtual misdirection, several false digital footprints leading to multiple potential hackers across different parts of the world. If anyone tried to trace the breach, they would end up chasing a dozen ghost identities. Then came the hardest part, getting past Titan Tech's physical security. Nathan had level 4 clearance, which meant he could access Sentinel AI's development servers, but not extract data. The firewalls were impossible to breach remotely, which meant he had to do it from inside the building. On the night of the heist, he waited until the last team left. He stayed behind under the pretense of debugging a new system patch. The security cameras inside Titan Tech had motion-based AI monitoring, which meant any unusual movement would be flagged. He had a 10-minute window before the next scheduled patrol. Moving quickly, he plugged in a custom-built USB device, a piece of hardware designed to override Sentinel's security protocols, creating a temporary backdoor. The system recognized his credentials, but this wasn't the hard part. The real problem was the firewall blocked external transfers, which meant Nathan had to physically remove the hard drive. His heart pounded as he unscrewed the secure casing of the terminal. If the security AI detected any tampering, alarms would go off. He worked fast, his hands steady. 1 screw. 2. Then, Nathan? He froze. The voice was familiar. He turned slowly. Standing in the doorway was Ryan. Nathan's heart stopped. Ryan's eyes flicked between him and the exposed server. "Nathan," Ryan said again, this time slower. "What the hell are you doing?" Nathan had seconds to react. "I can explain," he said, standing slowly. Ryan's expression hardened. "Jesus Christ, Nathan. Tell me you're not doing what I think you're doing." Nathan had 2 choices: lie or confess. But before he could say anything, Ryan pulled out his phone. "I have to report this." Nathan moved on instinct. He grabbed Ryan's wrist, twisting it sharply. Ryan yelped in pain as the phone clattered to the floor. "I can't let you do that," Nathan said, his voice low. Ryan's eyes were filled with shock. "Who are you?" Nathan exhaled. He didn't want to do this. Ryan was his friend. But then, Ryan smirked. Nathan's stomach dropped. "You're not as smart as you think, Cole." Ryan took a step back. And then, the office lights cut out. A cold voice echoed through the room. "Nathan Cole, we finally meet." The real enemy had just revealed themselves. Nathan's pulse pounded as the office lights cut out, plunging the Titan Tech lab into darkness. Ryan was no longer looking at him. He was looking past him. Nathan spun around. A figure emerged from the shadows, their presence eerie, controlled. The voice that had spoken was the same distorted tone from the video call in the warehouse. "Nathan Cole, we finally meet." Nathan's instincts screamed at him to run, but he stayed still, assessing. Who were they? How had they gotten into Titan Tech? Ryan exhaled slowly, stepping toward the figure. Nathan's blood ran cold. "You," he whispered, realization dawning. "You're working with them?" Ryan smirked. "You really thought you were untouchable, didn't you?" Nathan's mind raced. He had known Ryan for years, trusted him. Had Ryan always been involved, or had he turned recently? The figure took another step closer, their face still obscured by the shadows. "You're valuable to us, Nathan, but you're also reckless, and we don't tolerate loose ends." Nathan's fingers twitched near his pocket where he kept a security key. One press, and he could trigger an internal alert, but he wasn't sure if that would help or make things worse. He needed to buy time. "What do you really want?" Nathan asked, keeping his voice steady. The figure tilted their head slightly. "You know exactly what we want. Sentinel AI." Nathan's stomach twisted. This wasn't just about him stealing it. They had orchestrated everything. The surveillance, the threats, Olivia's compromised safety. They had played him from the start. "I'm supposed to trust that if I hand it over, you'll just let me walk away?" Nathan asked. Ryan chuckled. "Nathan, you're not walking away." Nathan's mind clicked into survival mode. He had to get out. Now, he took a calculated risk. In one motion, he grabbed a nearby emergency fire extinguisher, and slammed it against the server rack, sending sparks flying. Alarms blared as the Titan Tech security system activated. Smoke filled the room, and Nathan ran. Nathan burst into the hallway, his heart hammering. Behind him, shouts rang out as Ryan and the masked figure scrambled after him. He needed to escape the building without being caught on camera. The security AI had facial recognition. If they flagged him, it would be over. Nathan sprinted toward the emergency stairwell, bypassing the elevator. He descended 3 floors before shoving open a side door. He was now in a restricted corridor, one he wasn't supposed to be in. He tapped into his phone, hacking into Titan Tech's security system remotely. He rerouted camera feeds, creating blind spots just as he had been trained to do in his other life. Footsteps pounded behind him. They were catching up. Nathan spotted a janitor's access panel. Perfect! He wrenched it open, squeezed inside, and sealed it just as his pursuers ran past. He held his breath. Ryan's voice echoed in the hallway. "Find him! Now!" Nathan stayed still, his pulse thundering. They were dangerous, but they weren't the only ones after him. And if he didn't act fast, Olivia would be next. While Nathan was running for his life, Olivia sat at home, staring at something that didn't make sense. Her law firm had high-end security software, one she had personally designed to protect her clients' sensitive data. But tonight, she had noticed something odd, a breach attempt, not just any breach. Someone had tried to access her personal files. She ran a quick trace. The location was scrambled, but the origin was clear. Titan Tech. Her stomach twisted. Why would Titan Tech be trying to access her case files? Then something clicked. Nathan had been acting strange lately. Distracted, nervous, and now her own firm was being targeted by his company? A gnawing suspicion took hold of her. What if Nathan was keeping more secrets than she ever realized? She picked up her phone and dialed the one person she never thought she'd need to call. Nathan made it out of Titan Tech and disappeared into the city. He had memorized multiple safe houses over the years, unregistered Airbnbs, hacker dens, abandoned buildings where he could vanish if needed. He took refuge in a small underground club where anonymous transactions were the norm. Victor was already waiting for him in a corner booth. "You look like hell," Victor said. "Because I just walked out of it." Nathan sat down, running a hand through his hair. Ryan was in on it. He's working with them. Victor's eyes narrowed. "Shit. And they're not just watching me anymore," Nathan said. "They're coming for Olivia." Victor leaned in. "Then we need to flip the script." Nathan exhaled sharply. "How?" "I did some digging. Whoever's running this isn't just some hacker group." Victor pulled out a burner phone, sliding it across the table. "They have government ties." Nathan's stomach dropped. "What?" "They're not just cyber criminals, man. They're intelligence, black ops, off the books, projects." Nathan's mind raced. That explained the resources, the precision. And it meant his enemies weren't just hackers. They were professionals. Nathan took the burner phone, scanning the data Victor had compiled. It pointed to a shadow organization known only as Black Echo, a group rumored to handle illegal cyber operations for the highest bidders. "This just keeps getting better," Nathan muttered. "Here's the kicker," Victor said. "I think Ryan isn't just working with them. I think he's one of them." Nathan clenched his jaw. Ryan had been a mole this entire time. Betrayal ran deeper than he had realized. And then, Nathan's phone buzzed. A message from Olivia. "Nathan, we need to talk. Now." Nathan's blood went cold. Had she found out? Or worse, was she already compromised? He had no choice. He had to tell her everything, and hope that it wasn't too late. Nathan had barely sat down before Olivia turned her laptop toward him, her eyes burning with betrayal and something even more dangerous, determination. Displayed on the screen was a detailed breach report traced back to Titan Tech servers, the breach attempt on her law firm. She had traced it back to him. Nathan swallowed. "Olivia, I can explain." "Can you?" Her voice was calm, but her hands were clenched into fists. "Because, from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been lying to me for a very, very long time." Nathan exhaled. His instinct screamed at him to deflect, to manipulate, to erase the evidence and walk away clean. But this was Olivia, the woman he loved, and she deserved the truth. So he told her everything. Her face went from disbelief to anger to something Nathan had never seen before. Fear. Not for herself, but for him. "You're in deep," Olivia whispered. "This Black Echo, they're not just criminals, are they?" "No." Nathan's voice was cold. "They're government, adjacent, off-the-books cyber operatives. They clean up problems before they ever make the news." Olivia's hands curled into fists. "So what? You steal for them and then they let you live?" Nathan hesitated. "No, they don't let anyone live." A beat of silence stretched between them. "Then we don't just need to run." Olivia's voice was steady. "We need to destroy them." Nathan stared at her. This wasn't the reaction he had expected. But then again, Olivia was never the woman he expected. Nathan had spent the last 10 years learning how to disappear. He and Olivia moved into one of his off-the-grid safe houses, a Brooklyn apartment that had no lease, no rental history, and no connection to his real identity. Nathan wiped their digital footprint, credit card traces, social media logs, even their phone GPS history. But something told him it wouldn't be enough. Black Echo wasn't just after Sentinel AI anymore. They were after him. And that meant they were after Olivia too. Victor called him the next morning. "You need to hear this." Nathan and Olivia met him in a hacker den disguised as an abandoned convenience store. Victor was already at his laptop, tapping furiously. "I traced Black Echo's deep networks," Victor said. "They're way more powerful than we thought." Nathan's stomach twisted. "How powerful?" Victor exhaled. "Let's just say, you don't exist anymore." Nathan frowned. "What?" Victor turned the laptop toward them. On the screen was a classified FBI alert. "Nathan Cole, wanted for cyber terrorism." Olivia's breath caught. "They framed you. They're erasing you," Victor corrected. "Your accounts are flagged. Your identity's been burned. They're making sure if you do survive this, you have nowhere to go." Nathan clenched his jaw. "Then we hit back." Victor smirked. "Now you're talking." Nathan and Olivia spent the next 24 hours working on counter-surveillance. Nathan knew that Black Echo operated like ghosts, untraceable, ruthless, which meant if he wanted to stop them, he needed to draw them out. They used Ryan. Nathan sent a single encrypted message to Ryan's secure network. "Anonymous, meet me. 2 a.m. Brooklyn docks, alone. Or they'll come for you next." Ryan took the bait. Nathan and Olivia set up surveillance, using heat sensors and long-range cameras. When Ryan arrived, he was nervous, checking his phone, glancing over his shoulder. Nathan emerged from the shadows. Ryan flinched. "Cole?" "You look scared," Nathan said. "That's good. You should be." Ryan exhaled, rubbing his face. "Listen, man, this isn't what you think." Nathan pulled out a tablet and played a video. It was Ryan, caught on security footage, meeting Black Echo operatives. Ryan paled. Nathan smirked. "Now, let's talk about your options." Before Ryan could respond, a gunshot rang out. Nathan barely had time to react as Ryan's body jerked violently and collapsed to the ground. Sniper. Nathan grabbed Olivia and dived for cover as a second shot rang out, shattering the concrete inches from where they had been standing. They had walked right into a trap. A voice crackled over a nearby speaker. "Nice try, Cole, but we're always watching." Nathan's blood turned to ice. Then came the words that truly made his heart stop. "We have Victor." Nathan and Olivia barely made it back to the safe house before another message arrived. A video file. Nathan hesitated before opening it. The screen flickered to life. Victor was tied to a chair, blood dripping down his face. A man in a suit stood beside him, holding a silenced pistol. Nathan's stomach turned. Olivia gasped softly. The man in the suit smiled at the camera. "You were warned, Nathan." Then, without hesitation, he pulled the trigger. Victor's head snapped back. Blood sprayed against the wall. Nathan inhaled sharply. His chest tightened. his hands clenched into fists. The man in the suit leaned toward the camera. "You're next, and so is she." The video cut off. Silence. A deep, heavy, terrible silence filled the room. Nathan closed his eyes. Victor was dead, and Olivia was next. Nathan had never been more certain of anything in his life. Black Echo had just made their biggest mistake. They had taken Victor, and now they were coming for Olivia. But he wasn't going to let them. Nathan turned to Olivia, his jaw clenched. "No more running." Her eyes were wet with rage. "No more running." Nathan grabbed his laptop and activated his dead man switch, a fail-safe program designed to release every piece of data he had on Black Echo. Leaked to the FBI, NSA, every global news outlet. Black Echo wanted him dead? Then he was taking them down with him. He turned to Olivia. "You ready?" She smirked. "Always." The war had just begun. Nathan and Olivia had one goal: burn Black Echo to the ground before they burned them. Victor's execution had made it clear. This wasn't about survival anymore. This was war. Nathan's dead man switch was already in motion. Within hours, every intelligence agency, news outlet, and cyber forensics team in the world would be flooded with classified Black Echo documents. But that wasn't enough. Nathan wanted them crippled before they could even react. Olivia was already at work, using her legal and cyber knowledge to scrub their financial resources. She was methodical, targeting shell companies, offshore accounts, laundering pipeline. Every dollar Black Echo had was being frozen, traced, or outright stolen. And then Nathan made the call. A single dark web transmission. "Nathan, to anyone listening, Black Echo has hunted us long enough. Now, we hunt them. Their files are live, their money is burning, and their leader, marked for death." Within seconds, the underworld responded. Anonymous User 1, Black Echo, those bastards are fair game now? Anonymous User 2, bounty on their heads? Anonymous User 3, time to collect. Nathan had just weaponized the entire hacker world against Black Echo. The hunters had become the hunted. Black Echo's command center was hidden beneath a seemingly abandoned government facility in DC. Nathan and Olivia had one chance to infiltrate it. The plan was insane, exactly the kind of chaos Black Echo wouldn't expect. They wouldn't hack in, they would walk in. Step 1. Identity theft. Olivia had already hijacked the credentials of a former Black Echo operative. With stolen clearance and fabricated IDs, they had temporary access to the building. Step 2. The Trojan Horse. Nathan planted a kill switch virus into the facility's surveillance. The moment they entered, every live feed would loop, every security measure would blind itself. Black Echo's own security system would betray them. Step 3. Find their leader. Nathan and Olivia weren't here to fight Black Echo's army. They were here to kill the man who ordered Victor's execution. His name was Arthur Langley, a former CIA spy master who had gone rogue, turning Black Echo into his own private mercenary force. Tonight, he would die. They entered without resistance. Nathan's virus worked. Every camera, every scanner, every biometric system saw nothing. Olivia, dressed in a stolen Black Echo uniform, walked right through the checkpoint, with Nathan posing as a captured hacker being transferred to Langley for interrogation. They passed dozens of armed operatives mercenaries trained in covert warfare. If anyone saw through their disguise, they were dead. They reached Langley's command office, and then the trap closed. Alarms blared. The security system rebooted itself. Black Echo wasn't blind anymore. Nathan cursed as automatic weapons cocked behind them. Langley's voice rang through the loudspeakers. "You really thought I wouldn't see you coming, Cole?" Nathan gritted his teeth. They had been betrayed. Langley stood at the far end of the control room, flanked by 4 heavily armed bodyguards. Nathan and Olivia were disarmed, surrounded. Langley smiled. "You've caused me a great deal of trouble." Nathan spat blood onto the floor. "Good." Langley's expression darkened. You should have accepted my offer when you had the chance. Olivia's voice was ice. And Victor? Did he have a chance? Langley smirked. He was an example, to show you what happens when people cross me. Nathan's fists clenched. Langley turned to Olivia. And you... What a shame. You would have made an excellent asset. Nathan's body tensed. You touch her, and I swear. Langley raised his pistol, aimed it at Olivia. Nathan's heart stopped. Time to clean up loose ends, Langley said. And then, the lights cut out. Nathan didn't hesitate. The moment the lights died, he moved. Olivia dropped to the floor, kicking a concealed blade from her boot straight into the nearest guard's throat. Nathan lunged at Langley, grabbing the pistol, twisting it violently. A gunshot rang out, but the bullet missed. The guard scrambled in the darkness, blinded. Nathan and Olivia had the advantage. Nathan slammed Langley against the console, pinning his arm in a lock. Langley snarled, struggling. You think you've won? Nathan leaned in. Number I know I have. And then, Nathan activated the virus. A countdown appeared on every screen. Black Echo's entire network compromised. Their servers wiped. Their classified intelligence dumped onto the dark web. Nathan smirked. Enjoy watching your empire burn. Langley's eyes widened in fury. But then, Olivia gasped. Nathan turned. She was on the ground, her face twisted in pain. Blood spreading across the floor beneath her. Nathan's world shattered. Olivia? His voice cracked as he dropped beside her. She clutched her stomach, her breathing ragged. Nathan's hands shook as he pressed against the wound. Too much blood. This wasn't just an injury. This was something else. Nathan looked into Olivia's eyes, desperate for an answer. And then, she whispered it, I was pregnant. Nathan's heart stopped. His entire body went numb. He had never known. She had never told him. And now, their baby was gone. His throat tightened. He could barely breathe. Olivia, stay with me, he pleaded, his voice breaking. But she was fading. Rage, grief, and devastation crashed into him all at once. He turned to Langley, his eyes burning with murder. Langley laughed. Didn't see that coming, did you? Nathan snapped. He grabbed Langley's own pistol and emptied the clip into him. Every shot, until there was nothing left of the man who had taken everything from him. The facility shook with explosions as Nathan lifted Olivia into his arms. They ran, but Nathan knew they had already lost. 3 weeks later, Nathan sat beside Olivia in a small hospital in Amsterdam. She had survived, but their baby hadn't. Nathan hadn't left her side since. She hadn't spoken much. And Nathan, he had never felt more broken. All the money, the power, the skills, none of it had mattered. He couldn't protect the one thing that had truly meant something. One night, Olivia finally spoke. I didn't tell you, because I wanted us to have something pure. Nathan's chest ached. I would have protected you both. She turned to him, her green eyes filled with sorrow. I know. That's why I didn't tell you. I didn't want you to fight for me out of fear. I wanted you to fight for us. Nathan took her hand. He had won the war, but he had lost something far greater. And as they disappeared into the streets, once again, one thing was certain. Some scars never heal.